Hi guys, we expected a race to the bottom post-Brexit when the Tories were in charge, but sadly it seems Labour are going down that road as well. I want you to listen to two interviews. First, a representative of a pharmaceutical giant who was asked about regulations in Britain post-Brexit, and Peter Kyle, a government minister, talking up how Britain would be more flexible and nimble when it comes to regulations on products such as pharmaceuticals and other medicines. As I said in another video, the government seem desperate to attract foreign investment and are willing to be flexible with the rules in order to achieve that. Have a listen.
Do you find that regulation in the UK is holding you back from growing how you want to?
I think we find that in almost every developed economy, including the UK. I think the difference in the UK is, on your own now, separate from Europe, it's a relatively small market for most multinationals and certainly for Americans. So something needs to be quite different to make it interesting. And flexibility, agility, business responsiveness, of course, with an eye toward, in our case, ensuring that NHS and patient care is enhanced as well. That's a path we would encourage.
Can the difference be made up? You talk about us being a smaller market now. Can we persuade you to make the kind of investments you might have made if we were part of a bigger market?
Well, I think so. If we had in a hypothetical world, a market of this size that really encouraged innovation, not just in investment, but in utilization, right? So that the system was set up to really take advantage of the breakthroughs in biomedical innovation, put them to work in the real world, study those effects so that globally that knowledge could be shared and really become kind of an incubator for access to these medications as well as utilization. That would be quite interesting because then we could point to such a market and say, look here, they get the picture. Not only do they want our inward investment, which every country wants, but they put their money where their mouth is and deliver both a high growth environment for the industry, but also one that is a health system built around the idea that next generation technology can make a better world for its people. And I think that's a promise to continue to pursue. And this announcement today is a step in that direction.
Okay, it all sounds very nice, doesn't it? It all sounds really good that Britain would become some sort of incubator, some sort of playground for these pharmaceutical companies who could test certain things, they could run certain models, or they could experiment. Now, once again, regulations, while being painted as a negative by politicians, are there to protect citizens. They're there to protect businesses from other businesses. They're there to protect the environment, and they're there to protect consumers. So a big problem is this idea that, well, now that the UK is no longer a member of the European Union, businesses can act more freely. This was reinforced by Peter Kyle, government minister. Have a listen to what he had to say.
Not cutting corners, not lowering standards, but making sure that the government takes on some of the burden of compliance so that our nation can benefit.
We heard from the boss of Eli Lilly on the programme earlier, David Rick, suggesting that's all very well, but if the NHS then, in the case, for example, of an innovative drug says, no, we've got to hold the price down, no, we can't produce this new development, anti-obesity drugs, for example, there's not a lot of point. So you're willing to get rid of that red tape in order to allow those big US pharma giants to push their drugs into the health service quicker?
We are, Nick, and we're not just taking one step forward. Since we've come into government in the last couple of months, we're taking multiple steps forward. So for the first time ever, the Secretary of State for Health, Wes Streeting, has taken personal responsibility for spreading innovation through the NHS. That's the first time it's been a cabinet-level post. And it's great that the Chief Executive of Eli Lilly is here, and that Eli Lilly is playing a key part in this investment summit, because they have not invested freshly in our country for a very long time, and they now see this as a place to start doing business again.
This is really rather interesting, to use the language of the boss of Eli Lilly, Mr. Kyle. He said to us, you really need to get quite different to make things interesting. I think what he's saying is that for what he called a small market, which Britain is now because we're no longer in the EU, you have to be willing to regulate less than the EU in order to make it worthwhile for investors to come here. Is that what you're saying today? You will regulate less than the EU in order to make Britain more attractive?
Actually, what I would say that you need to regulate smartly.
regulate smartly. So did he deny it was regulating less? No, it would be regulating smartly. That's the way it will be sold. We're not reducing regulations. We're operating in a smarter way. This is what these companies, these multinationals want. They're saying, okay, we'll come into Britain, but you need to reduce regulations. You need to reduce the red tape. We should be allowed to make more risky decisions. And in some cases, the government will carry the load, as was pointed out in this clip as well. Some of the regulation will be, the cost of the regulation will be taken over by the state. And these businesses will be able to act in a freer way. Once again, the EU has a lot of bureaucracy. Yes, there's no getting away from that. And I keep saying that bureaucracy is there to protect businesses, to protect consumers, to protect the environment, to protect workers. It's there to protect. Removing those safeguards benefits only one group, and it benefits the companies that want to make as big a profit as possible. And when I said about Brexit at the beginning, we feared that the Tories would engage in sort of Wild West behaviour when it came to regulations. And we had hoped that once the Tories were out of power, sound heads would reign, that Labour would actually understand the need to regulate more, to hold these companies back. But instead, it seems that the government is so desperate to get these companies in, so desperate for investment, so desperate for a win, that they're willing to deregulate. And once again, regulation is there to protect people, especially when it comes to pharmaceuticals and medicines. You don't want to be going in the opposite direction of the European Union. You want to be in sync. And these companies, they don't care about citizens. They don't care about ordinary people. Their goal is to maximize profit. And if they see a market where they can maximize their profit and they can pressure the government to reduce regulations, they're going to do that. They see it as part of business as usual. And you want a strong government with strong regulations there to protect citizens, to protect the nation. If it doesn't, then what's the point in having a government? This is extremely concerning because these companies, as we've seen in the past, are profit-driven. They will pretend to care about ordinary people, to care about patients, to care about citizens, but in reality, they are profit-driven. And if they see regulations as a problem, they will lobby, they will pay, they will pressure weak governments to remove those protections. There is a reason why many companies struggle with the European Union, because the European Union is extremely strong. The Commission is extremely strong when it comes to pushing back against large corporations. We saw it, for example, with Apple, we saw it with Google. A weak government doesn't have that ability. And I'm fearful that the new administration, like the previous one, will bend over, will do as they're told by large corporations. And this will be to the detriment of ordinary British people. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.